You're listening to the Trailblazers Podcast, episode 34, with Nicole McLaren Campbell.
You're listening to the Trailblazers Podcast, where we will explore the stories of successful Black professionals. Join us as we highlight the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished trailblazers to help provide the know-how, confidence, and motivation you need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen Hart.
What's up, Trailblazers? I'm so happy to have you join us for today's episode. Today's guest is a super busy and amazingly passionate woman that is blazing a new trail in education and business in Jamaica. Her name is Nicole McLaren Campbell. She's a Princeton University graduate, has become a powerful educator, entrepreneur, and public speaker. One of the first public signs of her amazing smarts and talents came when Nicole represented Jamaica at MIT's Junior Summit, addressing then UN Secretary General Kofi Annan at just 13 years old. She was subsequently featured in local and international media, including CNN and Nickelodeon, and was chosen then as one of 20 teens who will change the world by Teen People magazine. Nicole returned to Jamaica immediately after completing her master's degree to join the Ministry of Education, where she served as senior policy analyst to then Minister of Education, now Prime Minister of Jamaica, the most Honorable Andrew Holness. At 25, Nicole resigned from the ministry to start AIM Educational Services with just 2 students. Today, AIM sees hundreds of students and delivers an average return of over 5,000% to parents. Results Nicole attributes to a strong, motivated team whose focus remains on possibilities, not problems. From this brief bio, you'll understand why I worked really hard to connect with Nicole and find a way to have her share her journey with you and our community. I just want to share with you that we ended up recording this episode early one morning heading into Nicole's commute. So I apologize for some of the audio not being 100% clean. There are some spotty connections at times and some background noises here and there. But what Nicole had to say and share was so powerful and so inspiring that I thought it was worth putting it out there. Despite the audio kinks, there's no doubt in my mind you're going to come away motivated to take one step toward your goals before you can even finish this episode today. So without further delay, here's the one and the only Nicole McLaren Campbell. Nicole, thank you so much for coming on and welcome to the show.
Really excited to be on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So before we dive into today's talk, I'd love you to maybe share with us something you're most grateful for in your life right now.
Ooh, I'm so grateful for my children and that they're healthy and that they're happy and developing normally. Especially in the night sometimes, like the other night, I was feeling, and I posted to Instagram as I usually do, but I was feeling a bit overwhelmed and the day had gone well in the sense that I'd gotten lots of stuff done, but the day ends so quickly sometimes and you're like, oh my gosh, the day has ended, I didn't get enough done, and so I started to get a bit anxious, and I just stopped, took a deep breath and just started to think and post about all the things I was grateful for, which revolves mostly around my relationships, with my family and friends. So it's so important to just, when you feel the anxiety or the sadness or whatever it is coming on, you just focus on the gratitude. And even, to start the day before any of those feelings can come on, set the tone with the gratitude. Okay.
Absolutely. Very, very important. Very key. As I read through your bio and your story, I'm so impressed with what you've been doing with AIM. But what is it about academia and being an educator that is so fascinating to you?
I always feel like I've somehow stumbled into education. Really, I had deeply powerful academic sort of educational experiences, and that's how I found my way into education, really, because, beyond what I learned in my major, beyond the math of it or the science of it. Who am I kidding? I didn't do it. But you know what I'm saying. Beyond the actual content of what you learn in school is just the overall experience that can be powerful. So for me, going away from Jamaica just after fifth form, going to a competitive boarding school that was just completely different from anything I'd ever known, and having to rise to one of the most challenging experiences of my life, where I felt like I really wanted to give up at so many instances, and having to dig deep and draw into my faith and really find my confidence and find my role and my voice. All of those things were just so huge. And just the way, going overseas and going to some of these schools and meeting all these different people who were just amazing in their own ways, opened my mind up so much, broadened my perspective, and really gave me the sense that I could live without limits and that I was capable of great things as well. So, I think because I had those sorts of experiences, I really got into education. And really what I do is help students to access overseas learning opportunities because the ones I was able to access were so powerful for me personally. Even though I'm back in Jamaica, happily living in Jamaica, I feel like just being overseas for that 7 years is so instrumental in who I've become.
Absolutely. Are you able to give your students more than the knowledge to prepare for the college? Are you able to relay some of those experiences to them as well?
Absolutely. It's part of, I feel like it's definitely part of what we do is help to empower them and to share the fact that it is going to be challenging and you are going to feel like you want to give up sometimes, but this is how you can make the next, your college years or your graduate school years count. And I'm very passionate about the part that's beyond just the getting in, It's one thing to get in, it's another thing to thrive while in. So we do make a point to, really just try to prepare them to be successful and to deal with the challenges that will no doubt come and to be okay with those challenges coming,
Right. What's maybe, the biggest thing you've identified as holding your students back from achieving their maximum potential?
Boy, we live in a culture. I didn't grow up with smartphones and with non-stop internet. When I was growing up, you had to dial up to the internet and God help you to shut on, and you hear all the phones, and if anybody called the house phone, that's it, you'd be disconnected, you know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up the way these kids are growing up, and I think, obviously there are many positive, very positive, advantages to growing up in this age, not least of which is access to information and just, the things that you can do or the things you're able to do now as a young person. I mean, I have so many students who run businesses and they're still in high school and these kind of things. You know what I'm saying? And I think just access to information has been instrumental in them finding that power because they can see that other young people all over the world are doing it. And, just anything you want to do now, you can just sort of go on Google or do an online course. Or there's so much out there. There's so much of an opportunity, but at the same time, there are lots of distractions. There's, I love social media, but, I find that it distracts a lot of students from what they need to be doing. Their attention span is terrible, so they can't stick to a task for very long. And because we're in this, you capture their attention for 2 seconds, and then it's strange because we're, the kind of media and stimuli that they're exposed to. And so that's definitely a challenge. So it's like, how do I find the ability to concentrate, to stick with a task? How do I, find that discipline? And that is an issue. I think that just the discipline or lack thereof is certainly an unfortunate issue students are grappling with, And I think also, of course, there's this crisis of confidence in self. I don't know if it's different from when I was growing up. I think every young person maybe has to go through it. I certainly did. But, it's just they're so young and so afraid and they're so concerned sometimes with what other people think of them. And again, I think that has to do a lot with social media as well. So there are a lot of opportunities with the developments that we've been seeing that our children have really grown up with, that are developments to me but are normal to them. But at the same time, it's a challenge in many ways.
Are you able to, in the flow of your time with your students, help them to develop their soft skills? I find that today, kids don't quite know how to communicate outside of, to send a proper email and not communicate in a text language or to engage with someone face to face. in a way that, shows respect, right?
Right.
Do you find challenges with that, with developing their soft skills in addition to the other things?
I think there is much more that we could be doing in that area, and that's something we probably need to look at building out that programming. I think it's really, really key, and many universities are actually doing that a lot with students because it's very key. I mean, the extent to which we do it with our students probably just involves preparing them for interviews and helping them with communication back and forth with colleges and coaches and all that sort of thing for the kids who are athletes and that sort of thing. So, and it's even in their communication with me, I find myself having to, correct them to be like, you don't just go straight into the conversation. You have to, say good day or hello or just small things like that. I do find myself actually having to have the conversation. But I would say the extent to which we do that right now would probably be limited to interview preparation and helping them with their written communication in terms of emails and that sort of thing to colleges. And
that's important. That's important.
Yeah,
even at that point. Yeah. It's you planting the seed. That's still a very good thing. That's great. So you're an entrepreneur today, right? What's the biggest mistake that you found? You are. Right?
I never expected myself. I never ever expected to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think of business. I didn't think of that when I was growing up. But I am not from like an entrepreneurial family or anything like that. I don't know if that's why it didn't occur to me. But I just found something I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it my way, and so that's how I ended up being an entrepreneur. But certainly have learned many lessons and continue to learn many lessons.
Listen, you have the makeup of an entrepreneur. As I'm reading your bios and engaging with your webinars, and I'm seeing just how passionate of a person you are. I listened to some of that of your story within your webinar, and how you've said, I'm going to be a public speaker. You got out there and took the gig, and just everything that I've seen you do. You are an entrepreneur at your core, and I think you're doing a great job at it. But
I love creating things, and I love having an impact, and I love execution. I'm completely obsessed with execution, and I'm really excited to learn new things, and I'm challenged to become just better as I go along in whatever I'm doing. So if that makes me an entrepreneur, well then yes. Or makes me entrepreneurial. I know I am an entrepreneur. So lessons, one of the big lessons I've learned, there's so many. So whenever I'm asked this question, I always struggle with how much do I, really say. The lessons are so many. One is that you have to see failure or problems as an opportunity for growth and not as problems, and that your perspective determines everything, and that you need to be quick to recover from top down and go into action mode. You need to focus on opportunities and not problems, because there will always be problems. As I said, it's all about your perspective and what opportunities for growth you can derive from anything that doesn't maybe go the way you wanted it to. I've also learned that perfection is the enemy of progress. I saw that quote recently, and
I think you need to repeat that, Nicole.
Perfection is the enemy of progress, and it's such a fact. It's such a fact. So you keep doing the best that you can, but you keep moving. Some people stay in planning mode forever, and they take no action because they're waiting for everything to be perfect and for all conditions to be right for them to make this move. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. I'm committed to continuous improvement, but I will not make perfection paralyze me.
That's really powerful. That's a good one. You're an educator, right? And I know you're big on the goal setting thing. Again, I loved your webinar recently and all that you're talking about goal setting and all that. Do you yourself have coaches or mentors that help guide you and your business forward? Like, what's your support system like?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm always open and on that wavelength of how do I identify more and pray, God, please send me the right people to help me along this journey, because I think that even if you're highly motivated, which I consider myself to be sometimes, and this was what someone said about I had a 21-day program recently, and somebody wrote me this email and said, even, they consider themselves to be highly motivated, but sometimes you just need somebody else to spur you kind of along on the path that you're set on, and even expose you to some different things that maybe you haven't thought of. So I would say the role of mentors and support has been and continues to be my most important source of energy, really, and of ideas and, different people in my, circle, I would call it, kind of function in different ways for me. So, of course, there's my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sisters, and those are important sources of support, but also, they've known me, they love me. They just, it's that love. That just unconditional love. And, they have known me the longest. And sometimes when I am doubting myself and when I don't think I'm able to do it and when I feel popped down, they can remind me of who I am and what I've done and, why I'm here. And, those things that someone with, I would call it institutional memory, but it's not an institution. But you know what I'm saying? Somebody with that deep knowledge of you and, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just love you badly, deeply anyway, is really important for me. So I feel like there's nothing I can tell them. So no matter what, they don't have any expectations of, who I'm supposed to be. So I'm really happy with that. And so I can just lean on them for everything.
And probably vice versa, right?
Yes, well, hopefully. Yes, they do. They do.
In that, I guess, are you able to receive
maybe
whatever it is?
Maybe I'm the one that pop down all the time. I don't know. I'm like, they hurt. Well, no, it's true. Sometimes they pop down and call me. It's true. Yeah. And sometimes even if they don't tell me they're feeling pop down, I pick it up and can help to uplift them. So I would say, yes, definitely a reciprocal thing, which is key. My husband, of course, very important. When I wanted to start and I wanted to quit my job, he made it look like there was no way that I couldn't succeed, which was really key. It was like he made it look like I was being ridiculous to even think that there was a doubt that this would be. In Jamaica, we say sell off. And he continues to be that for me, just that steady and very different in so many ways. I would say I'm like very excitable is the word I'm using. And because of that, sometimes I move very quickly and I'll get all heated and like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And he's like very calm and very like, Nicole, and so grounds me in that perfect way and makes me feel like totally just invincible, but at the same time can identify when I'm taking on too much and say, Nicole, this is getting crazy now. You need to bring it in. And I'm just like, oh, yes, it's true. And of course, at first, when he tells me I'm flex with him, he doesn't know I'm superwoman, is what I say in the head. And then when I pull back and people just say, oh my gosh, Jeffrey's right. And I do what he says, So that's really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. And then, of course, outside of the immediate family, there are our business type mentors, friends, that kind of support is so important. I have business mentors who are experienced, who are respected, who have achieved amazing success and who really help to guide and coach me. And I go to them with my issues and they can say, okay, this is what I think you should do, and just practical. How do I create a budget for my business? I don't want to Google it. I want somebody who I know has done this a million times to tell me. And so I'll go to them and, that kind of thing. And I want to build up a digital platform for him. So I go to, somebody who knows and they can coach and help me. So I'd say, yes, absolutely. Coaches are very important and mentors and people who help you with your goals, even no matter how motivated you consider yourself to be and how limitless in your thinking. There you can always go to another level and you can always use help. I used to consider myself so limitless in my thinking until I met a good friend of mine now and realized that, my gosh, this is what expansive thinking looks like. And it's really been very powerful for me. So always just knowing that there are other levels and there's always improvement and there are always things to learn and ways to grow.
I'm thinking of several people listening to this right now that are going to say, Stephen, Nicole has me ready to push the button on moving forward, right?
Yay, winning.
There are definitely folks seeing your success, all across Jamaica, all across the globe. We're in 53 countries now, who are probably sitting behind a desk listening to this message on a Monday morning while they're at work, and they're ready now to start realizing their own dream of entrepreneurship. What would your one piece of advice be for these young entrepreneurs to step in, to be able to plan, grow, and succeed on their journey?
Even I always ask them about one piece of, oh my goodness, there are so many. Okay, so the first thing I'd say is to educate yourself. In other words, you have to know about what you're getting yourself into. In other words, when I wanted to do educational consulting, the first thing I did was jump online and research the field, find out what kind of training was available, even though I felt like I had inherent knowledge just from experience. As I said, there's always more to learn, and, you have to understand the field and be committed to learning. So I just got back from a conference 2 weeks ago, a consulting conference, education. In other words, be committed to learning as much as you can about the field, as much as you can about whatever it is that you're going to deliver, and then commit yourself to continuous learning. Then make a plan and take a step. I always say that results happen in action, not in planning. Everybody wants to wait until the conditions are perfect, and you want to wait until, you have everything lined up, and you want to wait until you know everything and it's perfect. That's not happening. So you need to take a step. I love the Martin Luther King quote that sometimes you can't always see the entire staircase. All you need to be able to do is see the first step. In other words, take the step, and you would be shocked at how things just start coming together. It's like, God aligns things, universe aligns things. You start to talk to people about your dreams. You start to do things. You start to then meet people who can help you along that path. I mean, it's just, once I wanted to start AIM, and I started talking about it and seeking training, just people and opportunities emerged literally from nowhere. I can't even explain it. Defies explanation how I met someone who is now a partner of mine, business partner. We have a loose partnership arrangement. But I met him when I hadn't even started AIM, when I just had the idea and spoke to a few people about it, and then they introduced me to him. And he actually is responsible for maybe my first 20 clients and continues to send me clients to this day. And that was when I had no idea how I was going to do this, nothing. I had just said, this is what I'm doing. I went and I got trained, and then I started to do stuff. When you expose it like that, yes, some people will not believe in your dream, but that's okay, because the most important thing is for you to believe in your dream. But expose yourself, be vulnerable, tell people what you plan to do. Speak of it as if it is going to be a success. Speak with boldness and confidence, and you just never know.
Yes.
But things will line up.
Nicole, this is great. So what can we look forward to from you? What's on your vision board for the next 10 years?
OMG, Stephen. Well, to be perfectly honest, I do not have a vision board for 10 years. I have a vision board for the rest of 2016, because I've been, as you know, all about making the last half of 2016 count. Although I am going to do a longer term vision board. But right now, I'm focusing a lot on my relationships. For example, with my children, I want to spend more quality time with them. So I'm not talking about time where I'm just there and they're there. I want to spend more time engaged with them. They're 5 and 3, and I have a stepdaughter who is 10. And so, you're never going to get these years back. And I just found that in my passion and quest to, achieve all these goals and all these different things, that I just started to feel a little disconnected in a way. I mean, we are pretty connected, but as I said, I feel like all things kind of deepened and made better. And so I said, you know what, when I'm with them, I want to really be with them. So
right. Be present.
Something that I'm present, exactly. And generally being more present is something that I am working on. I mentioned it already. I have, business goals in the sense that I want to have international clients for me, and I want to really fund that in a very focused way and create an online experience for my students, and then expand that program and expand to different countries in a targeted, focused way. So that's something that's definitely on the agenda, and that I'm going to get going before the end of 2016. So I've been working in a very
Speak it.
No, it's happening. It's definitely happening, and I've already met with several providers, and we're just finalizing who we're gonna go with and then we're gonna start to build it out. So it's been something in my mind. I am ashamed to say for at least maybe 2 years, but sometimes you're afraid of something because you don't really know. It seems big, it seems hard, it seems beyond your skill set. And what I've really learned this year is that things are much easier than they seem. Everything seems big and hard before you actually start to do it, right? So this is why I'm obsessed with execution and with taking one step. So you keep looking at something as this big thing. Oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I do? Oh, I can't do it. Oh, it's such a huge project. Just take one step. Don't look at the whole big overwhelming thing. Just look at it one little step at a time. And before you know it, you're like, wait, this isn't that hard. This is that big. This isn't that unachievable. I think that's one of my big lessons for 2016, actually, in so many ways. Even with the webinars, just with everything. I was like, wow, a lot of things that I just thought of, ideas I thought were just too much and too hard, and I didn't have the time to do them now, or whatever other things we tell ourselves, that way. And I'm just really learning in 2016 that I am really limitless. I mean, even things that seem hard are not that hard. Yes, I might need help, but I can source the help.
Nicole, Trailblazers hear me say this all the time, but, I'll share it with you as well. Limits are for credit cards. Right?
There we go.
Limits are for credit cards, and it pairs well with what you just said. You just have to take the first step. Just let go of the excuses and take that first step. I watched you jump on that webinar. That was clearly your first webinar, and you owned all the challenges that were coming right at you live.
My gosh. No,
white box in your face.
There's a white box in my face, guys, and it's really distracting me, but we're going to keep this moving.
My gosh, you just powered through that thing, and, so, yeah, just take it as it comes, and you lived out your advice. That was awesome. So, we're getting close to the end here, and I'd love to have you share some resources with our listeners to help them sharpen their own minds, right? So what's one book you've read that has inspired you most?
Brian Tracy, No Excuses.
You love Brian Tracy.
Oh, I'm a Brian Tracy fan because that book completely changed my life, and I'm not even playing. That's an easy question for me to answer, just in a really practical way. And then, of course, there's Cornell with Democracy Matters, which changed my life in a different way, just caused me to think and question. And one of my goals, and actually going to put this on my vision board, is to read a bit more. You can get so caught up in doing what you're doing that you don't remember, or you don't take the time to read, to continue to expand your mind in different directions and dimensions, such as, really being conscious about society and about your role in it and about the different things going on, and just being awake, because we can be asleep to certain things in the world, and I think it's really important to be awake. So, yes, Cornell with Brian Tracy. Cornell with actually taught me at Princeton, so he has also been a great influence.
Wow. Nicole, what's something small you've done this month that you're proud of?
Ooh! What's something small I've done this month that I'm proud of? Oh my gosh. Wow. You couldn't email me these questions in advance. Hold on, let me think for a minute. It's small and it might seem frivolous, but I'm not sure that. I've been working a lot of hours. Then I had to travel as well, and it's been a challenge. And I have so much to do, or feel like I have so much to do, that I felt like I couldn't. It was a holiday weekend here in Jamaica, and I started to have major anxiety because usually for holiday weekends, I try to go out of town, take the kids out, have fun with the kids, and I like to see them having a good time, and, it's summer and all of this. And anyway, I've had a lot on my plate, and I felt like I could not do that this last holiday weekend, which was Emancipation Weekend in Jamaica. A friend of mine said to me, Nicole, you've been walking, and giving yourself the chance to have a little fun and to balance things out. And then I said, you know what? She's right. And I need to balance myself out and weigh in all of it. I really just let go and I said, this is what I... And I did. And I had a great time and it was great. And it was the right thing to do. First, it was small, but it was a good decision. And I need to make more decisions like that because one thing I've identified with myself, and know thyself is very important, so you can work on yourself, If you're in denial about where you're falling short, then you'll never be able to improve. I have a way to feel like work, and I have to just accomplish this, and I have to get these things done, and, and I can get into that kind of mania. A friend of mine called it mania, and I was like, what kind of mania? And then I said, okay, yes, it is kind of a mania, so I need to check myself sometimes. And so it might seem small, but it was a big deal for me to be able to pull back and say, yes, it's time to have a little fun, spend some time with the kids, have them have some fun. And so I was like, okay. And I went out of town and I had a great time. And I returned just having those memories and also feeling, very refreshed and ready to jump back in. So that's really important. And that's something I have to do on a continuous basis just so that I don't get burnt out or pop down. I have to manage myself. Self-management is very key.
I know everyone in Jamaica going to get popped down. I'm just going to find it very entertaining when people reaching out to me saying, Stephen, what's popped down?
What is popped down? I said, Stephen, you noticed I said burnt out first? Okay. Or international listener. Burnt out, Stephen, that's what I mean, burnt out. But popped down is such a better word. Phrase.
It is.
So captures the feeling much more effectively, I would say.
Nicole, name an online resource. It could be an app, software, or tool that you use every day that you can't live without.
Oh my gosh, Instagram? That's my honest answer.
Yes.
And I love Instagram because it really allows me to share. I love to share. That's who I am. To share my life, share things that inspire me. I have a page that's completely devoted to quotes that keep me going. Inspirational quotes that just energize me. And then,
what's the handle for that?
That's Nickspire, Nickspire, which is kind of like a play on my name, Nicole. Right. And then Inspire. Right. Nickspire. Social media has just, it's one of my favorite things because I have the ability to connect with people from all over the world, which for me is super powerful. I love it. You have the chance to be of service and have an impact in ways that you don't even realize. Just some of the messages I've received from people all over the world, it really is very moving. Just ways you've been able to give people strength and help them to feel like they're not alone in whatever they're going through, and to give them hope, which I think is one of the most important things that we all need. I was just thinking about how important it is to protect your inspiration. And so, I did a video, it's called a mastery session that Robin Sharma, who is I would call him just an amazing person, but he's a coach and a speaker and an author. He talks about protecting your inspiration, and it's really important. So social media, whether it's through the quotes or the people I'm inspired by or the people I am able to inspire, has really inspired me in so many ways, and it's fun for me as well. I love to connect and to feel connected, to inspire and to feel inspired. So I would say between Instagram probably being my favorite at this point. I haven't gotten into Snapchat. I don't really quite get it, but I'm trying to be young with my students at home. Yeah, I'd say social media is my favorite everyday thing to use.
And that's how I ended up finding out about you. My sister is so in love with your daughter's Instagram.
the LC. Let me tell you,
LC.
so amazing the impact she has been able to have too, because I have students who are overseas studying who say, Nicole, when I'm feeling down and depressed, I just watch some LC videos, and then they have friends who, they haven't told about her videos, who aren't even Jamaican, they'll connect over LC vids and be like, oh, we watch these, they make us laugh, and we feel sad. Sometimes it just needs a little humor in your life, that way. And,
absolutely.
And she's really funny. And so yes, I've been also happy to share her.
Her personality is amazing to me. That's a spin-off of her mommy, I'm sure.
Oh, Lord, no, she's her own. I don't know. God just sent her. God just created her and just sent her hope. I don't even know what's going on half the time, I'll tell you the truth.
So, Nicole, we're about to wrap up here, but before we do, I wanted to invite you to take a minute or two and impart. You've been doing a lot of this, but I want you to impart an inspiring message, right, that coming off this call, coming off this podcast, our listeners can really elevate their game and blaze their own trail.
No pressure, right, Stephen? Please.
None at all.
It's all possible. If somebody else has done it, there's no reason you can't. And even if somebody else hasn't done it, everything that we see around us was at some point just an idea by, dreamt up by people just like us. We all have our strengths and our gifts and, things that we tended to share with the world. And it's about us tapping into that, recognizing that, and then moving in a bold way with faith, one step at a time, being assured in our mission and purpose and awakening to that. And I think once we awaken to that, we really do realize, as God tells us, that all things are indeed possible. And it's our mission to just make it happen.
Yes. Amen to that. Nicole, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We are
great time.
I'm certain that you've inspired our listeners to take action and to move the needle right towards what they see as something they want to strive towards as a life purpose. And with that, I would ask my last question: how will the world be different because you pursued what you're most passionate about?
Stephen, you call me some Christianity, man.
Yeah, man.
You are not joking this morning, Stephen.
No, not at all.
Lord have mercy. How will the world be different? The world will be different because more people will be empowered and will unleash their full potential in countless ways in every area. And the world will be people, because I fulfilled my purpose and my mission, people will realize that they can fulfill theirs and will fulfill theirs. And so lives will be improved in every sphere. Yeah.
You have inspired me with this talk. Really, really appreciate you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Before I let you go,
I appreciate it.
I want you to tell our listeners how they can stay connected to you.
Okay, stay connected to me by following me on Instagram at Nicole McLaren Campbell. And then, of course, there's Nickspire, which is my inspirational page. If you want to watch funny videos of my daughter, you can connect with her. And her page is the LC Show on Instagram. Of course, I'm also on Facebook, Nicole McLaren Campbell. And then my website, you can join my mailing list so that you can hear about things that I'm doing, like webinars and seminars and workshops and vision board parties and all kinds of things that happen online and in person. We're actually planning a retreat in Jamaica, so awesome. I'm sure that people will love to come to Jamaica. But yes, connect with me. I love to connect. Very passionate about that. So yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Trailblazers podcast. I'll be posting links to all of today's book recommendations and links mentioned on our show notes page at tvpod.com. If today was your first time listening to the Trailblazers podcast, I just want to extend a warm Trailblazers welcome to you. We're so happy to have you here, and we encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button in your favorite podcast app. go ahead and browse through some of our past episodes to keep the knowledge flowing. If you're a fan of the podcast and today's content, and you're maybe already subscribed to the podcast, please continue to share and invite your friends, your family, your colleagues to listen to an episode that you think might impact them most. We believe that someone listening to these inspiring stories will be moved to make significant changes that will have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Don't miss next week's episode. New episodes are released each and every Monday by about 5 a.m. Eastern. Trailblazers, jump off this podcast today. Go find a way to rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail. Cheers.